All right, welcome back to What You Need to Know for Audio Engineers. This video we're talking about all of the channels that we see at the soundboard, that we interact with, that we use to do our jobs with. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. There's more to learn about all of these different kinds of channels. I'm going to give a brief overview here and sort of kind of describe how all of these channels interact with each other. Over here on the left side, these are all of our input channels. So an input channel is anything that comes from the stage box. We have sockets that plug in there. There are sockets on the back of the surface here, which have microphones and things plugged into it. And then there's also Dante inputs as well, which our mix rack communicates with. This top one right here, if you can see the labels right here, that's our drums right here. And then we've got all of our instruments, bass, guitars, keys, microphones, wireless microphones, and wired microphones are all here. And if you see over there, the ones with the yellow knobs right here, those are Dante inputs. And all of the ones with a red knob are all physical sockets with a cable plugged into it. So these are wired microphones right here, and over there, those are wireless microphones. And then down here, we can see, well, this is the layer in this bank for our tracks. Everything that comes from Ableton comes into the board here. You can see over there, that white one says click/guide on it. On the third channel, that is what we call a DCA. And we've got even more DCAs right here. After the input is the DCA. These are controllers for our input channels. So if you notice right here, we've got a drums DCA. That is a master volume for all of our drum channels. If I want to control the volume of the drums, I don't want to be individually changing the faders on each individual microphone. I want to change all of them at the same time. And that's where the DCA comes in really handy, is I can just bring down the drums DCA right here, and that turns down the volume of all of those. There's also a DCA for the bass in our band, and there's only one bass guitar, so that's the only thing being controlled by the bass DCA. There's a guitars DCA, which is the acoustic and electric guitars, and there's a keys DCA right here for the piano and the synth. We've also got a DCA for the tracks, our Ableton tracks, and then the DCA that controls the click and the guide over there separately as well. We've also finally got a DCA for our effects channels. So let's go to our effects channels and see those. Here they are, the green ones over there. These are what we call effects returns. And they are not coming directly from an input source, like a guitar or a piano or anything like that. These are being fed from effects within the software, within the machine here. So these are basically volume knobs and channels for reverbs and delays or any other kind of effect that we might want to add. Okay, so there's inputs, there's DCAs, there's effects returns. Now we'll come over here to our outputs section. And well, the first thing we'll start with is these red ones right here. These are the other side of the effects sends. These are called aux channels, auxiliary channels. These are what feed the reverbs and delays and the effects that return back to those channels, and we mix them in there. There's a drums effects channel here, an aux. A guitars effects aux, a keys effects aux. So just like we've got DCAs here for our drums and our guitars and our keys, we've also got dedicated effects channels for each of those as well. Our drums are controlled by this DCA with the volume, and simultaneously they are being sent to this aux channel. All of the drums are being sent to this aux channel. From this channel, they go to a reverb, a software reverb inside, and then they return to the drums effects channel return over there. And the same thing applies for all of these effects auxes. These are effects sends, and they're auxiliary channels. got one for the drums, and they match. So there's one for the drums, one for the guitars, one for all the keys, and then a couple for the vocal effects. These are mono auxiliary channels. And then we have stereo auxiliary channels, which we primarily use for in-ear monitors on stage. People put their ears in and they have a wireless pack. These channels are sending dedicated mixes to our in-ear monitors. So let's say we go to our band bank right here. Right now we have the main mix selected, but if I select in-ear monitor number 1, you can see there's a different mix of the instruments in this auxiliary channel. So these are dedicated mixes. They are separate mixes from the main mix, and they are controlled separately from the main mix. And if we want to mix one of them, we select the mix. There's another one, just a little bit different. You can see there's different levels of the instruments in them, and we can see with the microphones and all that stuff too. But each of these has slightly different mixes from each other, and slightly different mixes from the main mix. But that's our stereo auxiliary channels. They are sending in-ear monitor feeds to individual in-ear monitors, and we've got 10 of them. So we can send 10 different mixes to 10 different people on stage. Speaking of the main mix, here is our main mix channel. You can see it's selected by default. Whenever this mix button is blue on our main mix channel, that means that we're mixing our main mix. From there, we have these purple ones right here, and these are matrix channels. So a matrix, at least in the way that we use them, is a copy of the main channel, like a copy of a Word document. You make a copy of a Word document, you can save it to the cloud, save it to a local hard drive, save it to a thumb drive. You can save that in different places. That's what these are doing as well. So we have each of these matrix channels is a copy of our main mix channel. They're getting copies of it. And just like a Word document, we could open up our Word document in our cloud, and we can edit it, and we can save it there, and then it's going to be different from our original document. And then we can open up our document that we saved on the thumb drive, and we can edit that, and it can be different from our main document and also different from the other edited version of the document. We could do that a number of different times depending on how many matrices we have. We've only got 3 here. This matrix is a copy of our main mix, and that sends to our live stream and also uses a stereo aux as well for that job. And then we've got a matrix that sends to our main speakers in the room, and then we've got a matrix that sends a copy of the mix to the subwoofer. And each of these is edited a little bit differently. We can EQ, compress, reverb, do anything to a matrix channel to edit it. But at its heart, it is just a copy of our main mix channel.